early Monday morning when Kamarie Holland's mother reported her missing from a Columbus residence. The child's body found late last night inside this abandoned home on 15th Avenue in Phoenix City.
Welcome or welcome back, and thanks for being here. I'm Cassie, and this is A Wicked World. The story I have for you today is probably one of the most horrific that I have ever covered. But not just because of what was done to this little girl, but also because of who did it to her. This is the story of Kamarie Holland. Kamarie Holland was born on November 23, 2016, to her parents Kamarie Holland and Christy Seipel in Columbus, Georgia. She had 3 sisters and 4 brothers. The little girl was said to have had the biggest heart, and she was always happy and smiling. Kamari was also intelligent and full of love. One of her favorite hobbies was singing and dancing in videos that she recorded. Kamarie's father affectionately called her his little princess, and the little girl had just recently started preschool, which she loved. After Kamarie's parents split up, she lived with her father Corey and her younger brother in Phoenix City, Alabama, as he had full custody of both of them. This was because 35-year-old Christy Seipel, also known as Christy Hoskins, had previously had the custody of her children revoked from her after she was charged with chemical endangerment of a child she gave birth to in February of 2018. This had come after Christy permitted her unborn child to be exposed to marijuana during her pregnancy. And due to this, she wasn't even supposed to have contact with her kids. But on December 12, 2021, Christy would show up at Corey's house, uninvited, to see her children. However, he would let her inside and let her spend some time with their kids. At one point during the visit, Corey went into the other room, and soon Kamari ran in after him, telling him that she was excited because she was going to be spending the night with her mommy. This caught Corey completely off guard, and even though he knew there was a court order restricting Christy from even seeing her kids, never mind taking them overnight, he agreed because at the time, Christy seemed happy, and she did not look like she was high on drugs. But the father mostly agreed because little Kamari seemed so very excited to spend some time with her mom, and he didn't want to let his daughter down, especially so close to Christmas time. So Corey told Christy that if she was going to take Kamari, she needed to take their son too. And even though the mother seemed a little hesitant at first about this idea, she ended up taking both the children overnight. The very next morning, December 13th, 2021, Christy awoke to find that 5-year-old Kamari was missing from her Bowman Street home. Christy would contact the authorities and tell them that she had woken up around 5:50 a.m. that morning. And when she did, the door was open and Kamari was nowhere to be seen. However, when the authorities went to Christy's home, they would find no signs of any forced entry. So officials decided to check Christy's phone, and they would find that she had been communicating the night before with a man named Jeremy Williams. Once officers ran Jeremy's name, they found him in the system from a few days prior, where a victim had reported him for sodomizing her. The victim stated that during the attack, which had happened in Jeremy's Columbus home, he had called her by the name Kamari, and told her that she gave blowjobs as good as the little girl whom he had taught to do it. So authorities would then ping his cell phone and find where Jeremy was located, which was at the Bamboo Motel on Opelika Road in Phoenix City. Upon their arrival at the motel, police discovered that Jeremy had just checked in about a half hour prior, and he would then be found smoking meth in his room with his uncle. He was taken into custody for questioning. As officers were searching Jeremy's current home for any clues as to Kamari's whereabouts, they spoke to Jeremy's wife outside the home, telling her that they were investigating a missing persons case. The wife, with a sheer look of terror on her face, then told them that if anything happened to that little girl, she would be at an address in Phoenix City. The address she was talking about belonged to an abandoned property that Jeremy had once rented. So police went out to the location that Jeremy's wife had mentioned, on the 1600 block of 15th Ave. And when they did, they found the body of 5-year-old Kamarie Holland. She was lying naked on the basement floor and had marks all over her like she had been tied up. The little girl was in the stirrup position, similar to when women go to the gynecologist. And she had numerous injuries on her body, including bleeding between her legs. It would be determined that Kamari had been brutally SA'd, and her cause of death was asphyxiation. She also had methamphetamine in her system at the time. Following this discovery, 37-year-old Jeremy Williams was charged with capital murder and held with no bond. It was later decided that he would be facing the death penalty if found guilty of his crimes. Then, just 2 days after her daughter's body had been discovered, just 2, Christy decided to take what were going to be Kamari's Christmas presents and donate them to a local toy drive. While she was there donating the toys, she spoke to a reporter on camera, and this is what she had to say.
Oh, she looked like such a sweet little girl.
She was a very sweet child. She was beautiful. Sweet soul. Thank you. And I seen this and I touched my heart, so I stopped. That's what she was. Mommy, let's help that mommy. She's like that.
Let me hold your
She's
feet.
like that. We were at the gas station one time and we seen a family out there and one of the little girls didn't have shoes on and she said, "Mommy, we can help them, mommy, because I have so many pair of shoes at home, mommy. Let's give them my shoes, mommy." I'm coping. I'm making it. The media's making me look like I'm some evil person, but I'm not. I'm a mommy and I did not have nothing to do with this. She was my life. I lived for her daily. She was my only girl. I had 3 boys and her.
Oh, she your youngest?
She was no, I have one more under her. I have my son under her. And it's hard. It's hard. I don't know if I'm coming or I'm going, but I'm doing it. Ain't nobody on my side. They didn't even tell me about the balloon release today. They haven't even mentioned her funeral or nothing.
So will you get to decide that, or?
I don't think so. I think that's all Dad had custody of her.
Okay.
But you know what? I have my peace with her, and she's here in my heart, and that's all that matters.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I can't even fathom what you might be going through, but please know that our hearts and prayers are with you. And I know just at the station, we cover all kinds of news, but for whatever reason, just because of what happened, it has really hit hard for a lot of people.
And that's all you see over social media is her face. She was so loved. She was so loved.
Now she lived in Phoenix City.
Yes, she lived with Dad in Phoenix City, and she was with me. That Sunday I picked her up, and he prayed on her. I can't really talk about it. There's a gag order, so.
Okay, and we're not going to try to ask you to talk about that. Is her school doing anything?
I'm not sure. She was in school for like literally 3 weeks and then got kicked out because of coronavirus. Somebody tested positive in class. So we decided not to send her back. But she was so smart. She was just learning how to spell her name. She'd see a K somewhere. She's like, "Mom, that's Kamari." She was the best little girl ever. So smart. She was fantastic. She was perfect.
Well, my heart aches for you. And please know our prayers are with you. I know Tony gave you her card.
Yes. I've dropped off some presents and I still have some more that I will bring because that's what she would want.
That's
definitely what
very
she
sweet of
would
you.
want.
And is there anything that you want to say to our viewers about?
Life's short. Definitely keep your loved ones close. You never know when it's going to be the end. And I'm innocent. I had nothing to do with my daughter's disappearance or murder. I would never. She was my life.
Of course she was. She's your baby girl.
Exactly. Like, whoever could do that is just disturbing. Very sick in the head.
A little more than a week after Kamari had been found dead, on December 25th, 2021, Jeremy contacted a detective and told him that he had done some praying the night before and he had a lot that he wanted to get off his chest before he was executed. It was during this interview that Jeremy would make multiple confessions, including that he had molested his 4-year-old stepdaughter on a daily basis. Then he confessed that he had had something to do with the death of his 1-month-old daughter, Nadia Trinice Williams, who had passed away back in 2005. Jeremy had been living in North Pole, Alaska, with the baby's mother who was serving in the Air Force, and at the time, the baby had died from blunt force trauma. While a medical examiner had previously ruled Nadia's death being due to an emergency with her intestines, Jeremy now admitted that it had actually been from something that he had done to the baby. He told the investigator that when the child would cry, it would enrage him. So he would often punch his 1-month-old baby and throw her down the stairs, because apparently he didn't get the memo that babies cry. The case had previously fallen cold after police couldn't gather enough evidence against Jeremy. But now, with this confession, North Pole Police reopened the investigation into her death. Jeremy had also been charged with child abuse in the past, though he had never been convicted. Back in 2009, he'd been accused of lowering a 3-year-old boy into a boiling pot of water. But his defense had argued that the boy had actually poured the water on himself, and he was acquitted in 2012. Additionally, he'd been the suspect of a missing 1-year-old boy in Alaska, but he was never charged. And just a week prior to Kamari's death, he pled guilty to slapping his wife in front of a child. During his confession with the investigator, Jeremy would then go on to tell what exactly had happened the night that Kamari went missing. According to him, he had known Christy Seipel, Kamari's mom, for some time after they had met through a mutual friend in May of 2021. He said that the two would often smoke meth together and engage in sexual activity. According to Jeremy, though, he was only able to afford this meth because he had taken advantage of a PPP loan during COVID. Now, the night before Kamari died, Christy had called up Jeremy and asked him to watch Kamari and her younger brother while she went out on some prostitute calls. According to Jeremy, he was shocked that Christy even wanted him to babysit the children, considering that he had told her in the past that he liked to perform sexual acts on kids. Yeah, she's an idiot. After he had babysat, he said that Christy was aware that Kamari was going to be leaving the house with him, as they had previously agreed that he would pay Christy $2,500 for an hour of Kamari's time. Though he also said that this number was later negotiated down to only $1,300. Either way, Jeremy admitted to the detective that he had no intentions of even paying Christy, because he didn't have the money, and he knew that she wouldn't call police because she had committed a crime too. So after he had left Christy's house, he made his way to his home in Columbus. But when his wife witnessed that he had Kamari with him, she made him leave the house. That's when Jeremy took Kamari to the abandoned home on 15th Ave in Phoenix City. On the way there, he admitted that he showed her porn and told her that she was going to perform those same acts on him. When Kamari told him no, she was not, he punched her in the head. Upon arriving at the abandoned home, Jeremy backed his vehicle all the way down to the apartment as far as it could go, as he did not want his aunt who lived nearby to see him. He then smoked meth and made Kamari do the same. Afterwards, Jeremy forced the little girl to perform oral sex on him, as well as raped'd her in his vehicle for over an hour. Then, after he choked Kamari until his hands went numb, he started to look for an open grave near the home. But during this time, Christy started to call, and he would tell her that he was just stuck in traffic. When she kept calling, he lied and said that he had brought Kamari back home and she had just run inside on her own. According to Jeremy, he'd first left Christy's home with Kamari at 2 a.m. that morning. Around 6 a.m., Jeremy was seen on camera leaving his address in Columbus on Dozier Street. And he was headed towards the abandoned house on 15th Street, where he stayed until about 9:55 a.m. Jeremy would also admit to changing the tires on his vehicle so they didn't match up to the ones that were left behind at the crime scene. Now, when police had taken Jeremy's cell phone, they would find that during the time that he had assaulted Kamari, he had made 6 different videos of them together. This resulted in him additionally being charged with production of CP. These video recordings would also result in the sick son of a bitch being charged with abuse of a corpse because he had had his way with Kamari even after she was dead and recorded it. So following Jeremy's confession, Kamari's mother, Christy, was also placed under arrest, and she was charged with murder during the course of a kidnapping, murder during RAPE, murder during the course of sodomy, and human trafficking in relation to her daughter's death. Also, her arrest had come after Kamari's funeral, but Christy did not attend. Kamari's father, Kamarie Holland, would issue a statement on behalf of him and his family following Christy's arrest, and he said, The amount of pain that Christy has caused by ripping Kamari out of our lives will never cease. We are glad to see that she has been arrested. We are one step closer to justice for Kamari. We hope that justice is served. Christy should receive whatever the maximum penalty she can get. She's a monster. A real mother protects and would die for her children. Christy is a monster. My family and I will continue to wrestle with the loss of losing our angel Kamari. Not long after his arrest, Jeremy Williams would be indicted with new charges while he was in jail. This time it was on charges of SA pertaining to another child under the age of 6 years old, his stepdaughter. More than 2 years after 5-year-old Kamarie Holland was killed in March of 2024, her mother, Christy Seipel, pleaded guilty to her charge of sex trafficking Kamari, which took her charge of murder off the table. And it makes me wonder, was Christy there for Kamari's death? Because why else was she charged with murder as well? But now, since she took a plea deal, we'll likely never know. She was sentenced to 20 years in jail and also agreed to testify against Jeremy during his trial. But it wasn't long after that, in April of 2024, that Jeremy would also plead guilty to his charges. However, under Alabama state law, in order to get the death penalty, a jury trial must be held. He had entered into a blind plea, and no plea deal had been given to him. During his trial, Jeremy would make it clear that he did not want his lawyers to defend him in any way. Also during the trial, the jury would be forced to watch an entire 11 minutes of a video that Jeremy had taken, forcing Kamari to give him oral sex. In the video, he would also punch her in the face if she bit him. Jeremy's stepdaughter, who was in her early 20s at the time, would testify as a witness during the trial. And she told the jury that Jeremy had raped and assaulted her when she was just 4. She had never told anyone, including her own mother, about the assaults. That's until an investigator had reached out to her in December of 2021 after Jeremy confessed. There was also a 9-year-old victim that was said to be Jeremy's cousin's daughter who would testify at the trial. She spoke about what Jeremy had done to her in the past, saying that he had hurt her when he either brought her to a hotel or to another family member's house on multiple occasions. The victim's mother would make a statement as well, in which she said that she will not forgive Jeremy until the things that he did to Kamari and her daughter were done to him. And this man is one of the sickest fucks I've ever heard of, so he would deserve every second of that. Following a 3-week trial, the jury would find Jeremy guilty on 4 capital charges. 1 for the murder of a child under the age of 14, 1 that her death happened during a kidnapping, 1 that it happened during the course of rape, and the final that it had happened during the course of sodomy. He subsequently received the death penalty and is now sitting on death row at Holman State Prison. In October of 2024, Jeremy filed an appeal for his sentence, but good luck with that one, bud. Little Kamari's funeral was held on December 22, 2021 at Taylor Funeral Home in Phoenix City. She was then buried at Sunset Memorial Gardens, also in Phoenix, where following the service, Kamari's family released white doves into the air in her memory. In December of 2024, Kamari's father, Kamarie Holland, invited the community to come together once again to celebrate, honor, and remember little Kamari. He also made a statement in which he said, "I lost my peace, a piece of my heart, a piece of my mind. Just how I thought life would be was stripped away, and it will never be the same. Losing Kamari, I can't even put into words. It destroyed me pretty much." He then said that if he could talk to his princess now, he would tell her, "Kamari, Daddy misses you, baby. I miss you waking up in the middle of the night, you kicking me in my back. I miss everything about you, and I just know the love I will have for you and will always have for you. I will spread to your brothers and sisters." Well, thank you for listening to Kamari's story today. What happened to this little girl is just so horrendous and so heartbreaking. And to think that her very own mother was the one who handed her over to this sick and disgusting man is just beyond words. What do you think about this case? So if you like true crime and you want to hear it from me, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button below and turn on those notifications too, so you'll know when I upload a new video, which is at least 3 times every single week. Thanks for watching A Wicked World today. Until next time, take care, guys. Bye. Thank you to all the patrons of A Wicked World. Now, there's even more of A Wicked World on Patreon. So check it out at patreon.com/awickedworld or use the Patreon app. You'll have access to exclusive videos each month and more. Any support truly helps to make sure the victims never get forgotten and to highlight the shortcomings of society associated with each case. Do you have a suggestion for a case you'd like to see me cover? If so, send me an email at awickedworldtruecrime@gmail.com.